I still remember when the CEO walked into my office and said, Feras, tomorrow we have a layoff and you are part of that layoff. You're impacted. The emotions, the feelings that went through my head, through that sinking feeling in my stomach, my heart racing, anxiety, fear, concern. But I still collected myself and said, thanks for letting me know ahead. He gave me a courtesy notice one day ahead of everyone else. Went home that night, shared with my wife what happened. She was very supportive and said, we'll figure things out. Don't worry about it. I had 3 kids at the time. In 2022, 17 million people, this is according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 17 million people in the US were laid off. Another stat I read, in our lifetime in the US, 40% of us, that's 4 out of 10 people that you meet, we have experienced either a layoff or been terminated. And then if you go through some rough times during maybe the housing crisis or more recently during COVID, the early days of COVID, 40 million people were laid off. Instead of thinking of why this happened, you want to think about what is it that I can do about it. Think of it as a time to reflect. If you try to find why, what happened, you're not going to know. Companies are not going to tell you. It's going to be an email or a letter. We're restructuring, we're streamlining, the economy is not doing well, whatever the case might be. They're not going to tell you. There are legal considerations. If you were a manager, you know what I'm talking about. HR and legal will tell you exactly what to say and how to say it. So don't think a lot about the why and what happened. The 2 hard truths that apply to all of these situations are, one, that even if you're a top performer, you could be an amazing employee, you're go above and beyond, you could still be impacted. Sometimes an entire line of business is shut down, or sometimes a founder in a startup or a small company, they just run out of cash. So that is the first hard truth, is you could be a top performer and you could still be impacted. The second one, a lot of times companies, they lay off those who are underperforming. It could be the bottom 5%, 7%, 10%, 20%. What I want to focus on is not what happened in the past. We learn from the past, we assess what happened, maybe spend 2-3 days, agonizing over this, regretting all that. I think that's okay for a little bit. But then after that, put it in a box. It's behind us. Okay, I was underperforming. Now I'm going to do better. After you do the assessment, there's no room for self-flagellation and endless rumination. It is just an assessment, and now it's going to help us to move to the next step. The things that you should do, or I'd recommend you do right away after a layoff. One is to assess your financial situation. You really have to be super disciplined financially. Maybe we're saving a little bit, we have plans for vacations, we have subscription to a whole lot of streaming services, whatever the case might be. But this is the time when there's a layoff, think of it as an opportunity to look at all your finances and see how you can maximize your savings. You want to preserve cash as much as you can. You want to, if you have a family vacation, maybe postpone it. Maybe instead of traveling overseas for 5 days, maybe make it a local trip for a day. Still take care of your family, of course, and your loved ones and people you care for. If you're not good with numbers and finances, get the help of a consultant, a financial advisor, someone who would look at you and assume the worst, hope for the best and assume the worst. So you might not find another job for 6 months. Or if you're, again, thinking about starting a business, it might take you 6 months to get revenue. So look at the cash that you have, figure out ways to preserve that cash. Now, the second part, which is about staying calm and reflecting, easier said than done, I know, especially initially. But I think if you've done that financial planning or that financial assessment, and you now have a clear understanding of your financial runway, meaning the time period that you have, the number of months that you have where you can just sustain yourself and your family, that will give you some peace of mind. If you have that, okay, I'm good for the next 3 months, I'm good for the next 7 months. So that financial assessment is helpful, and it will help you with this next recommendation is about staying calm and reflecting. Again, this is a shock to the system. There are a lot of unknowns, of course, but think of the things that you wanted to do, but you couldn't do when you were busy every day, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, working, right? So now you can take the time to assess your skills, also your habits. You can also look at the roles that you've assumed over the last, let's say 3, 4, 5 years and see which one you really enjoyed, which one you excelled at. You can also examine the things that maybe didn't go well or things that you really didn't like doing, but you had to do. And also you can see like I really love project management, and I never had the opportunity to do a full course on project management, do that. So this is the time, because you have the time to really think through all of that and figure out what are these transferable skills that you could use in the next venture. Again, whether it's going to be another job or a business that you start, this is really important, the skills that you have. And think of this period as this launching pad for what's going to happen next. The third one is you want to leverage the most underutilized asset. That's your network. I always tell entrepreneurs this. All of us, we underutilize our network. We don't have to be obnoxious about it and go on LinkedIn and email everyone, but no one can do it on their own. There's no self-made whatever. We all support each other one way or another. Now, some of us maybe put more time, more effort. They can dedicate more energy to something. And that will show in the outcomes most of the time. But your network, your close friends, your family, your professional network, anyone whom you've left a positive impression on, this is the time to tap into that resource. I remember when there's this massive wave of layoffs a few months ago. I saw that on LinkedIn, like people start to say, open to work. And a whole lot of people, myself included, we posted, hey, anyone in my network, if you've been impacted by a layoff, reach out. I'm happy to help. So don't be shy to ask for help. It's difficult. These people out there, maybe you're the shoulder they cried on once at work, or maybe you help them find a job. They will reciprocate. Leverage your network. And again, if you're looking to find a job, remember that a lot of the jobs, and I read one of the statistics, like 80% of the job, they get filled in through networking and internal recommendations. So you reach out to your network is really important. And the other thing to keep in mind is not only to ask, hey, help me find a job, or I have this business idea that I want to start, but also if you have some trusted friends, if you have people who are maybe rough around the edges, maybe they don't have a filter, those are the ones who will tell you exactly the issues maybe that you're experiencing or you're experiencing at your previous job. So you want to reach out to friends to support you emotionally, psychologically. Some of us might need to see a professional. That's all good, whatever is needed. But also when you seek out and speak with those who will tell you candidly their assessment of your situation, I think that's really important. And again, if you have a business idea and you want to vet it, this is the time to also to ask your friends, like, hey, I have this business idea. What do you think? So do that. It might cost you a lunch or something to go out and meet them, but people are out there ready to help. And the last recommendation is making a plan. So based on everything we discussed, the financial assessment that you've done, the reflection on your skills and the things you want to improve on, and tapping into your network, now it's the time to put the plan together. And remember that you're not bound by the limits of your previous job. The skills that you have, the energy, the time, the care, the passion, those are the things that will work for you really well in the next venture. And I'll give an example, a couple of examples. One, a friend of mine who was in sales, he was the number one salesperson in his department. And he used to work, really hard and always follow up with customers, close those deals. And he was laid off. What he decided to do is actually to shift career and move into project management. Again, he was a top salesperson. He was crushing it. But at that phase in life, he has young children and his wife was going back into the workforce. And he figured he can do something where it's not as demanding time-wise and where he has some flexibility. And he found a remote job and it worked for him really well. This layoff could be, again, a blessing in disguise. It could be this opportune time for you to think about something completely different than maybe you've been doing for a number of years and maybe you haven't been very happy about. The other thing is, let's say you're very technical, but you always love marketing and you want to get into that area. This is an opportunity for you to go and maybe become a content writer if you write well in that marketing department. And the fact that you are technical and you can write well, the marketing department, they're going to love you because now you can translate whatever the technical folks talk about that maybe no one else but them understand. Now you can, because of your technical background, you can turn that into an asset. A lot of opportunities. Again, think about skills. Think about your own strength. For example, you're really good with people. You connect well with people. You're good with customers. Or again, you're very detail oriented. Or maybe you're more of a strategist. Those are the things you want to focus on. So don't be limited or don't want to be bound by the limits of your previous position.